Hello and welcome to the inaugural G Suiteness Hour. My name is Ben Wilkoff. I am the Program Director for Personalized Learning in Aurora Public Schools. And I wanted to have a time where we could come together and talk about G Suite for a couple of different reasons. One, our school district, Aurora Public Schools, is moving from Outlook to G Suite for our collaboration and communication tools, and wanted to have a place to come and talk about that transition. Also wanted an opportunity for us to be able to just talk about the wonderful tools and dig into some of those key things that you might be interested in. So this is an open forum. If you would like to join in, you can join in via the Hangout. Just make sure that you let me know that you want to be on the Hangout, but you can hop to it at any point by going to rebrandly.com/, and that'll hop you right into the Hangout, and you'll see the Hangout interface looking exactly like this, and you'll be able to see exactly what's going on. Or you can contribute within the YouTube interface. As you can see here, we do have it displaying here next to a chat. So if you have any questions, please do use the chat to ask the questions on the viewing side of things. But ultimately, what we want to talk about is the use of G Suite for communication and collaboration. So if you want to hop into the website that we're using for the transition, and in order to get yourself trained, get yourself certified, and do all those kinds of fun things, really all you need is just gsuite.aurorak12.org. So gsuite.aurorak12.org. This site has all of the training materials. It has all of the resources for both our transition from Outlook to G Suite and all of the certification resources if you would like to become a Google Certified Educator. You can hop in there and check out all of those resources that are available to you. So I'm going to pause for just a second, make sure that everybody is on board, and then we will proceed talking about our transition, as well as looking at the two core tools of that transition. We can talk about a lot of things, but I'm really excited about what we can do inside of Gmail and Calendar. They're not the sexiest of things in terms of updated tools, but they are core to the way in which we communicate and collaborate across our schools, and the way in which we use our tools for this process of creation, collaboration. So we will check out, obviously, all of the different places where we are, but let's start with the transitioning from Outlook to G Suite and getting ready for the transition. We have 5 pilot schools that will be transitioning starting in fall break, and they've actually already started. A lot of their stuff from before the beginning of the school year has already been moved over from Outlook into Gmail. It's really exciting to see some of that stuff start to take place, and the personalized learning partners are really making use of this time to support schools in making those who are doing the pilots. So we have Rangeview, Lynn Knoll, Fulton, APS Online, and what's the last one? Oh, I've got one more. Oh, Barachek Middle School. So 5 schools that are engaged in this pilot, and I'm just going to talk about the pilot briefly so you can kind of see what that looks like. But essentially, everything from before the school year has already been moved over, including folders, calendar appointments, contacts, all of that stuff has already been moved over. And then fall break for these pilot schools, and then winter break for everybody, all of the stuff is being forklifted or migrated, however you want to talk about it. And you can click here to see what items are being migrated. We have it really well sort of situated. This is what's being migrated in terms of email. Even your trash is being migrated. Really exciting stuff in terms of you don't have to do anything in order to hop into G Suite, in order to hop into Gmail. And so that's what's happening there. Again, all of the resources are at gsuite.aurorak12.org that you can get access to, and make sure that you are logged into Chrome so you can take advantage of the full G Suite training. So I'm going to hop out of the presentation here, but you'll notice that there's this little question mark up in the top right corner. That question mark means that you are logged in correctly and you have access to the G Suite training, meaning that any G Suite tool that you want to learn more about, you're not quite sure how to do something, you can hop in there, search for the task that you're trying to do, or you can go through these as lessons. So if you just want the slides overview, the most amazing thing that it does is actually starts to play. It starts to play an automatic message that will walk you through all of the different steps within the task of using Google Slides or Gmail. So if I'm in my Gmail, you'll see the exact same question mark up here. If I'm in my calendar, I see the exact same question mark. And that's why we asked you to make sure that you're logged in using your aurorak12.org account so that you have access to G Suite training. It's really easy to use that tool and to make sure that you have access to all of the awesome resources directly within that tool. So we'll hop out of that. It's a lesson, so I have to end the lesson. But essentially, all of these tools are available to you from our G Suite site to talk about the transition. When you return from break, if you're in the fall break pilot, you will be exclusively using Gmail. And if you're in any other school over winter break, we are going to make that transition. And so you don't have to use Outlook anymore. You don't have to use the calendar tool. You can simply log in Chrome and have access to both your mail, your calendar, and all of the other tools in the G Suite. So it's really exciting. It's the same username, but we're moving away from that sort of complicated aps.k12.co.us construction and just moving to the far more simple at aurorak12.org, which is a really great thing to be able to say the email address over the phone or communicate it to parents, all of those kinds of great things. Changing your settings in Gmail, you can obviously add signatures. You can go in there and we'll take a closer look in terms of changing your settings, but we want you to know that you do have even more freedom to change the things inside of your email to set it up just the way that you like it. It is something that is available to you at all times on any device. So you can log in from your phone, log in from a computer or Chromebook or an iPad. All of those are available to you so you can have access to it. Now, in terms of the transition itself, you're not going to be able to send email from the old system and from your old email address. Everything is going to be automatically redirected into your aurorak12.org account. And once we make the transition, you won't have to worry about that old one anymore. We do have a really awesome frequently asked questions that you can see here. Some really great things about the transition specifically. It's a really great way for you to be able to see what the communications team, including personalized learning, IT, as well as the communications folks that are focused on this, what they have to say about the G Suite frequently asked questions. Some really good resources there. I'm just checking in to make sure that everybody can see and hear the session here. So that's the basic components of the transition. But if you ever need help, the personalized learning partner email address is plp@aurorak12.org. You can receive just-in-time professional learning, and then obviously the G Suite Hour, we're going to do one a week until we fully transition, so you have all of those resources. Some really great stuff to be able to see. And so what I'd love to do is take some time here to dive into the two core applications of Gmail and our Google Calendar, and just take a tour of what all of this stuff is. So let's go ahead and do that. So over here, obviously we have our lovely Aurora Public Schools logo. We have the ability to switch between mail, contacts, and tasks. It's just a quick little drop down here. This is the inbox. Now, when you log in, you might see a whole bunch of messages, but I have everything foldered away and I am at inbox 0 for this inbox here. So ordinarily we would see all of these messages, but I have them foldered away. So over here, obviously, we have the ability to refresh to see if there are any new messages, check things off, and then we can start looking at it. Let's go to a folder that I have that would allow for me to actually see some messages. So if I go to all mail, that's every single message that I have received, and I can now see all of my messages here. And so if I obviously select one, using the checkbox, I can archive it, meaning get it out of the inbox and put it into all mail. That's the category of everything. I can mark it as spam, delete it. And then I can also do labels. Now, in Outlook, we have the ability to do folders. Labels are even more powerful than folders. Folders really only allow a message to exist in one place at one time. Labels allow me to tag something with a person's name, tag something with the school that I'm working with, or the team that I'm working with, or if I want to tag something as IEP, I can do that along with the person's name, along with all of those different components. We have the ability to robustly tag or label each message so that you have those and you're able to use them and manage those labels. So you can sort of see them as their own little inbox area. And obviously, it's very similar to folders, but even more powerful. I can also add a message as important. I can add it to a task. If I want to sort of favorite that message, I can add a star to it. And then that means that I can see it in this starred designation. So I'll see that particular message. I'll be able to see everything that I have starred as of this date. So that's the basics of the inbox over here. Obviously, I see all of my labels and all of the things that I want to see. And then what we have down here is what we call Hangouts. Obviously, that's what you're watching this on right now, is a video hangout. But you see the Hangouts that are right over here. These are all messages that I want to take part in. And if I want to pop those out, I can do so just by clicking on the app waffle up here. Some people call it the app launcher, but Hangouts is right here. And if I want to rearrange any of my apps to make them more accessible, I can pull those up here and simply have more access to them. So I can rearrange all of the apps that I have access to, make it a little bit easier for me to manage, and obviously that makes it easier for me to work within G Suite. So this is obviously the layout here. One of the things that I want to call attention to are your settings, like we were talking about. So if you click on this cog right over here, I can actually either configure my inbox or do even more stuff over in the settings designation. Sorry about that. Just wanted to make sure that we have everybody following along here. So if I go into my settings, I have a whole bunch of options. Obviously, I can change the language if I would rather either type or read in another language. I can choose how I want images to be displayed. This is one of my favorite features of all time. It's the undo send feature. Really great way of seeing what of essentially undoing. If I know that I am quick on the trigger finger, I know that I press the send button maybe a little bit too early, I can undo the send, and then that allows me to get that message back. I have the ability to customize how long I want it to wait before it actually sends the message after I click the send button. I can have 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 30 seconds, however I want to do that. I highly encourage the default reply all. Um, if you are someone who does not engage in huge and massive emails where reply all is a big issue. I like the reply all just to keep including people on all of these different messages. You can change your own default style, which is really nice. You can change your style for the text that you would write in a new message, all of that kind of thing. If you're the kind of person who doesn't like to see all of the messages together, you can turn conversations off. I find that it is so incredibly helpful to follow the thread of any given email conversation. So that was a big innovation, back in the day for Gmail, was having it in conversations. And you may be someone who has already been doing that in Outlook for quite some time. Um, I also really like the send and archive because then it gets that out of your inbox automatically. You can use lots of different ways of designating emails. If we want to use different types of stars, so you can have yellow stars, red stars. You can, mark things as more urgent, or check them off, or say this is informational, or put a question mark. And essentially, that allows you to tag your messages even more. You can have notifications, keyboard shortcuts, all of those kinds of things. One of the things that may be valuable to you is to change your picture so the way that it shows up whenever you send a message to somebody. It's really good to kind of change it to something like your face, or to a topic like the one that we're doing, Google's training and certification, that would resonate with folks that you're sending that to. There are a couple of things to note. Changing your signature, you've got a really robust signature tool here. So you can add images, you can add links, you can have it any way that you might like in terms of your signature, even more so than in your Outlook days. So really great tool there. This is also where you would do your vacation responder. So if you wanted to turn it on or turn it off, this is where you're going to do that. You can designate that your vacation responder only goes to your contacts or to your APS Google folks, so everybody within our domain, and things like that. But that's how you turn on your vacation responder. Really great way to sort of make sure people know when you are in or out of the office or in your classroom, depending on your role, obviously. I'm going to check back over here real quick, and then we'll keep on going. So inside of the general settings, obviously you have all of those, but you can also modify your labels. You can decide what shows up on the left-hand side of the screen here, where you can actually see, obviously, the different ones. You can then, show chats, hide chats, show important, hide important, and then that changes across over here on the left-hand sidebar. This is also where you're going to edit your labels, making sure that you have only the labels that you want, and that you want to be able to use. You can do some nested labels, which is super nice. So if you have a label up top here, we can change how it's nested. So airmail is at the top, and then done memo. All those things are underneath. So I can actually have some nested labels here, just like you would have nested folders inside of Outlook. Your inbox, you can decide what types of inboxes you want. Do you want it to show up with your important first, your unread first? Lots of customization there. You can also add other accounts if you want to do that. If there are other things you'd like to receive inside of your Gmail account. The filters may become important to you if you're getting a whole bunch of spam, or if you want to filter all your classroom messages into a place, or if you want to do it in a different way. That way, all of your messages become filtered and available to you in another format. You can also use some forwarding if you want the email to be forwarded elsewhere, or connect up another email client to do that. The chat itself is whether or not you want to see the Hangouts off to the left-hand side. So if I turn the chat off over here, it will reload my page, but it will take away the chat. So if you find that kind of thing distracting, no worries. You can leave that off, and then people will not be able to contact you directly into Gmail. You would have to open it up inside of our Hangouts interface, which we can talk about at another G Suiteness Hour. So let's hop back into our settings. There's only a couple of other things that are worth talking about. One is labs. So you have the ability to do things like canned responses. You have the ability to have it auto advance when you are sending messages. It'll go to the next one. All of these different things that are essentially a way for you to add functionality into your Gmail. So definitely check those out. There's lots of really great tools in here to be able to make use of. And then the last one is themes. So if I set the theme, I can change it to whatever I might like. So if I think this one is super cool, then it becomes that. If I want to change the theme to something maybe a little bit more simple, I can have a dark theme, and then that just becomes sort of black there. I'm going to set it back to my default, my regular one, just to make it nice and simple. So this is Gmail, and obviously there's so much more that you can do inside of this space, but it is important to think about how you want to set up your email, how you want to use that in the new space of Gmail. The only other thing that I would call attention to is the contacts interface. You can manage all of your contacts and see what it looks like. You can also go into tasks and see your task lists. Anything that was transferred over from Outlook will show up in both of those places. So if you have ever set up contacts inside of Outlook, they are coming. They are coming directly over to your G Suite or Gmail account. So I'm going to pause just for a moment and see if we have any further questions about Gmail and the tools that you can use inside of Gmail. Really great tool for communication and collaboration, obviously. All right, so now let's proceed on to our Google Calendar. Google Calendar is obviously a robust calendar tool. And I shouldn't say obviously because it may not be obvious to everyone, but it is a robust calendaring tool that allows for you to set up all kinds of different calendar appointments, different calendars for different purposes. It integrates directly with Google Classroom, inside of Gmail, all of those different tools directly inside of your Google Calendar. So let's just do another tour again around the interface. So again, we have our toolbar up top where we can search the calendar. We can go in and do that. I didn't talk too much about search, but there's a lot of features inside of search inside of Gmail as well. But essentially, search is what Google does best. And always a good thing to see that you can search in a robust way across all of your calendars, across all of your appointments. Great way to make use of this tool. So let's do a quick tour. In our calendar, we have the ability to obviously create or do a quick add. So if we add it that way, we can just type in our regular sort of normal English or in any language you might care to use, and it will create that particular calendar appointment. So if I do new day at 2 today, it puts a calendar appointment called New Day at 2 o'clock today. It's a really great way to very, very quickly add to your calendar, just doing the quick create right here, or you can do the full create and then it'll open up with all of our different resources. So inside of calendar, we have the ability to obviously move weeks. If I'm in the week view, the ability to move days. If I'm in the day view, to do months, a 4-day sort of rolling calendar, or just looking at the agenda, it'll put everything, by just listing it out there. So I prefer the week view or the 4-day view, just because it helps me to focus a little bit more, and do that. You can obviously print and refresh, but that's not super valuable, because the digital calendar, the benefit of that is that it's always up to date rather than printing it off and it becomes outdated immediately upon coming off of the printer. This is the mini calendar, what they call the mini calendar, where you can jump to a particular date, and you can scrub through months a lot more easily that way. All of your calendars, including the ones that were created by Google Classroom, will show up right over here. And then any other calendars, meaning other colleagues or other people that you have added, will show up in other calendars. If there is a calendar that you want to add, you can go to Browse Interesting Calendars, and you can obviously click on the different resource calendars and things like that that are inside of Google Calendar. But I really do like the ability to add calendars of specific coworkers and things like that, if you want to be able to see what they're doing, or you want access to that. It's making a request, essentially. So all of these are calendars, but let's talk about the specific components of an event, because there's a lot to do there. So there's a lot of really great features inside of here. So obviously we have the title of the event, and the date and time of when that event is. You can have all-day events or repeating events, and there's some really sophisticated repeating structures in here. Like every weekday, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, and Thursday. If you do weekly, you can do custom, all right, I want Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday, right? You can do it every 2 weeks on those days. And then obviously you have all of your sort of repeating functions. When should it end? All of that kind of stuff. Inside of the event details, you can add a location, and what's great is it will auto-complete any address that you put in, or if you start typing in the name of a place, it will autocomplete to that, so that it will put in the address for everyone that's coming to that particular meeting. If you want to have a video conference like the one that we are on, not altogether dissimilar, you can add that. It's not on by default, but you can add it, and then when you click the save button, it'll be added to that. You can switch which calendar it will be applied to, put it in the description, and one of my favorite features is the ability to attach a Google Doc or something from Google Drive inside of your calendar event. So you don't have to worry about worry that people don't have the right information. If it's not in Google Drive, you can upload a file outside of Google Drive. So if there is a Word doc or a PDF or something like that, and you don't want it to live in Google Drive, you can attach it directly to a calendar event and it will show up there. You can do some color coding, decide what you want for notifications, whether or not you want to show as visible or excuse me, available or busy. And then you can kind of decide, obviously, is this an event that you want to be publicly available, or do you want it just to show up as a busy time for you? One of the other components here, obviously, is for calendars, you got to invite people. If you have them in your calendar or in your contacts, they will show up automatically, and you can search for anybody and they will show up, and they'll auto-complete there. If you would like to reserve a room, there are a few rooms that are available now, but as we transition over, lots more rooms, lots of more resource spaces can be created. So if you have a room that you want to be created, let the help desk know. And it will be really great to sort of see just how many resources and how many spaces can be reserved. And they're not available if they have already been taken. So anything you see in the list is available for you to reserve, so that you can take a look at that. You can decide if you want to allow others to invite their own folks, not just forward, but invite their own folks, and see the guest list. That's always available to you. In terms of the way in which you structure your calendar events. You can add people really easily. The only other things that you might be interested in is copying to multiple calendars or duplicating the event if you want to create multiple different calendar events that have different series and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that because we don't need that particular calendar event. But again, this is the layout of Google Calendar. They try and keep it as simple as they possibly can. Some really robust tools here, but really simple, really easy to use, and hopefully fairly valuable. So the only other thing that I was going to point out again is that G Suite training, editing, managing events, searching for events, doing things like appointment slots, all of those robust functions are ones that are available to you in the G Suite training. And if you're logged in on Chrome with your aurora-k12.org account, you'll be able to see all that training. So those are the two tools that I wanted to really deeply discuss. I'm going to pause here for a little bit of question asking if you have any. And then we will wrap our first G Suiteness Hour. It's been really great to sort of see what things people are thinking about and talking about. I'm really excited to sort of see where people take this transition, and look at all of the opportunities there, for folks to understand, what's coming, and how to make best use of these tools. All right, I'm going to wrap us up here, just by providing again this resource, gsuite.aurora-k12.org, for us to be able to use in our transition. If you click on Outlook to G Suite, you will see all of these resources outlined, including the purpose documentation, why it is that we are making the move, and how to reserve a personalized learning partner session for training, and all of those kinds of purposes, as well as all of the future G Suiteness hours that you can take part in, and that you can explore, obviously, all of the in-depth training or become certified. Watching the first G Suiteness Hour. I hope this was informational and hopefully a little bit inspiring in terms of the tools that we have at our disposal, that are available to us now and that we can take advantage of. Hope you have a great day of teaching, learning, leading, and creating. Talk to you soon.